Hey guys, I'm Dave Valtiero, Wide Open Sportsman. If you like adrenaline, excitement, and power, motocross is for you.
Wide Open Sportsman. Hunting. Fishing. Adventure. It's go time.
I began riding motocross and racing my buddies back in the 80s, and I still do it today, and I love it. Tell you what, today with the help of Pat Hanlon and his wife Janelle, the owners of Hill Country Motorheads in Burnett, Texas.
Hey Dave, how's it going? Thanks for having us on Wide Open today. Can't wait to show you the museum. Come on, let's go take a look.
I'm gonna take you guys back in time. We're gonna go back in time and talk about the history of motocross. The story is super cool. Sit back, buckle your seatbelt. It's go time.
Welcome to today's YouTube show. If you like adrenaline and power and excitement, motocross is for you. Let's go back in time. How did it get started? The story is super cool. This is the history of motocross. Through my eyes, Dave Valtiero, the host of Wide Open Sportsman. I began riding dirt bikes in the 1980s, and I love it. This video was produced with the help of Hill Country Motorheads Museum in Burnett, Texas, and Alamo Cycleplex in San Antonio, and we thank them for making this video possible. Regarding the evolution, it all started in Great Britain. It was first developed in the UK. At that time, it was called scrambles racing. The first organized scrambles race was in 1924 in Surrey, England. Racing machines were modified street bikes from Britain with big four-stroke single-cylinder motors and no rear suspension. They were called hardtails. These heavy, large, single-cylinder powered racers were unreliable, but the sport was started. At the onset of World War II, racing came to a standstill. In 1947, the Dutch Motorcycle Federation became the first international scrambles competition. Motorcycle competition contributed to the creation of the new name, motocross. Motocross, the name, was born from the French word motocyclette and the British cross country, hence motocross. In the 1950s, the federation was called 500cc World Motocross Championship, with Dutch, British, and Swedish riders dominating for many years. The new federation made motocross an official worldwide racing sport. Hardtails with no suspension gave way to rear suspension with swing arms and shock absorbers, and the technology started to advance quickly. The new two-strokes were lighter, more reliable, less expensive than their four-stroke counterparts, and mostly more powerful.
Another very rare motocross bike in this museum is this beautiful 1957 BSA Gold Star Scrambler. It was originally raced and owned by Arthur Lampkin in Great Britain, and he won the world championship on this bike or something similar. It was subsequently rebuilt by Dick Mann in Reno, Nevada, and raced to a national championship here in the U.S. in the vintage racing.
In 1958, the European 250cc championships were created and upgraded to 250cc World Championships in 1962. By the late 1960s, the European manufacturers had introduced highly competitive two-stroke racers. Names were Rickman and Cheney of the UK, Schanz and Zenap of Germany, and Voltaco, Oessa and Montesa of Spain. Now, these new bikes were fairly inexpensive, and they were very reliable. They were more available overseas. Those regions had the bikes.
To point out our Evolution of Motocross exhibit featuring motocross bikes from the 60s and 70s, some 80s. Back in the day, there were over 30 manufacturers of motocross bikes. Now there are only 6 or 7. One thing that makes our Evolution of Motocross exhibit extra special is the fantastic artwork and paintings by Peter Trojan from Prague, Czech Republic.
Motocross comes to the United States. This happened as the new European brand bikes started to be imported to the United States by an American importer, Edison Dye. The big name then was the Husqvarna brand. Edison Dye decided to invite the European motocross champions to America to promote the new sport of American motocross. He started the Trans AMA series. In the 1970s, Japanese manufacturers changed the game. They introduced a mix of lightweight, powerful, reliable bikes, leading the way to Suzuki, who dominated the world motocross sport. The first American to win a 500cc world championship was Brad Lackey in 1982 on a Suzuki RM 500.
Dave, so many people come in the museum and ask me, what is the rarest motorcycle here? And it's not always obvious, but this is it. 1968 Suzuki TM250. It was Suzuki's first motocross bike that they made available to the general public, which led to multiple world championships over the next 5 or 6 years.
The European brands were competitive throughout most of the 1970s, but the new young American riders opted for the less expensive, often half price, and more reliable Japanese brands. By this time, the European manufacturers lost sales dramatically. Until the mid-1970s, the focus was on lightweight and power, and suspension was not that important. The typical travel length of suspension was 4 to 6 inches. In the late 70s, the technology changed. The focus now was on longer travel suspension, and eventually water-cooled motors in the early 1980s.
Woo! Now that's what it's all about. I tell you what, man, the adrenaline, the power, the excitement, a little bit of element of danger, it's all in there, man. Motocross has got it all. It's got it all. You don't have to race either. You can just ride like me. In thousands of cities in the United States, there are motocross parks that you can go ride. You don't have to race, you can just ride. I also highly recommend that you visit my friends at Hill Country Motorheads in Burnett, Texas. Take a look at the Motorcycle Museum. I've just taken you back in time and I brought you all the way up to Kawasaki 450s. Awesome history. That Motocross Museum is over the top. And also, one more thing, visit my friends at Alamo Cycleplex in San Antonio, and they can get you your next 2 or 4-wheel adventure kick-started. Fired up. Electric start, baby. I'll see you in a wide open outdoor adventure.